Have you ever tried doing a drawing where one thing was supposed to be closer and another thing was supposed to be further back, but it didn't quite come out right? If so, you probably didn't get the perspective right. In this video, I'm going to show you the easiest way to achieve perspective in all of your drawings. And with just a few basic techniques, you're going to see that your drawings become much more realistic. Let's go. There are three main kinds of perspective, and with each level, you increase the level of realism. Level 1 is 1-point perspective. Things are simple, easy to understand, but not so realistic. I'm going to show you how to make a drawing using 1-point perspective. First, we draw the horizon line. Now place a dot on that line. That dot is the vanishing point. All of the depth lines of our shapes will vanish toward that vanishing point. I'm going to draw a few different shapes here, and I'll start by drawing the horizontal lines. The horizontal lines, or the width lines, are unaffected by 1-point perspective. And the height lines, the vertical lines, are also unaffected by 1-point perspective. What that means is you're going to end up with a bunch of rectangles and squares. I'm just going to erase some lines here and clean up the drawing. The secret to 1-point perspective is to draw a line from the corners of those rectangles and squares to the vanishing point. You don't have to use a ruler, but it does help if you do. Once again, notice that the height and the width of these shapes are not affected by 1-point perspective. They will be affected by the other types of perspective though, the 2 and the 3-point. A nice way to think about it is 1-point perspective affects one dimension of a 3-dimensional object. Now that I have all of my basic shapes laid in, I can turn it into a drawing just by adding details. You don't have to do this part, this is just for fun. So I'm just going to have maybe a little futuristic scene here with a floating taxi and a canal, and let's say an old building. I'll put a gondola here just to have something else in the canal, and I don't know. And then a few more flying cars. Okay, that'll be about it. Let's take a look at 2-point perspective now. Level 2 is 2-point perspective. Things are a little bit more realistic than 1-point, but not quite as realistic as 3-point. With 2-point perspective, you have 2 vanishing points. And the reason there is that we are vanishing 2 of the dimensions. 1-point perspective only vanished 1 of the dimensions. Okay, so which dimensions are we vanishing? Well, depth and also width. In 2-point perspective, height is going to be unaffected. Once you have your horizontal line down, put your 2 vanishing points on the horizon, and now you're going to draw the height lines of different shapes. You see I have 6 shapes here. Now from the top and the bottom of those height lines, I'm going to draw 2 lines to each of the vanishing points. You do it first on the left, and then on the right. The shapes above the horizon line will have an exposed underside. The shapes below the horizon line will have an exposed top. And all that's left to do is draw 2 more vertical lines for each shape. What's important to notice here is that in 2-point perspective, you have 3 vertical lines for each shape. And that is the main difference between 2 and 3-point perspective. We're going to see that in a moment. I'll just clean up the lines now. So I have 6 different shapes here. Just go ahead and erase all of the extra lines. Maybe I'll draw 1 more shape in the bottom. Now to give you an idea about what a finished drawing looks like in 2-point perspective, I'll just turn some of these shapes into buildings and vehicles and so on. Maybe futuristic vehicles. Here is, let's say, an Eastern temple and a New York style row house. So you can see that the 2 vanishing points come into play, especially with architecture. It's quite a good look. I don't know, for this one, maybe I'll put a cat in a giant cage and a floating car. Okay, let's take a look at 3-point perspective now. And the last level is 3-point perspective. This is as real as it gets. All dimensions are represented in your drawing. Start with the horizon line again. We're going to have the 2 dots on the horizon line and one well underneath. The main difference here is that unlike 2-point perspective that had vertical lines, in 3-point perspective there are no lines that are unaffected. All lines in 3-point vanish at one of the vanishing points. So what I like to do is start with the bottom vanishing point and draw 3 lines radiating from it. And you can see I'm filling in the rest of that shape with the 2 vanishing points on the horizon line. That shape crosses the horizon line. Let's draw one above the horizon line now. You can see I'm using my ruler and putting it right on those vanishing points. The 3-point perspective is much more dynamic. It's a lot more difficult because there are no parallel lines at all. I'm going to show you one more shape, and this shape will be underneath the horizon line. And maybe a little skinny building or something along those lines. I'll just erase the extra lines now and fill in some detail to give you an idea about what 3-point perspective looks like. That's it for perspective. Keep practicing, it will make your drawing better.